721 here, Big 550 KTRS. He is the Speaker of the House. He's running the ship down in Jefferson City. Good morning, John Deal.
Hey, good morning, McGraw.
Thanks for joining us. This is sort of the halfway point of the session, right? You guys have been off for a couple of days?
Oh, a little bit more than that. We're almost like at the, like the 60% mark, actually. So we've got 6 weeks left. I think they're about been through 10.
Okay, and so your first go-around, is this what you expected?
It's been interesting. Once you get organized, that always takes a few weeks because you're like forming a new government. But I think we've moved at a good pace. What I found really interesting this session is, this is my 7th year down there, and
right.
Usually all the focus is on inside the building, and this year with all the outside the building political elements, whether it's Ferguson or the tragic circumstances we had with the state auditor a few weeks ago, all the focus seems to be outside the building. So
it does seem like, though, you guys are getting a lot more done this session than you have the last couple of years.
Oh, we really are. I think we're moving at a good pace. We're on the House side. I think we're working on some really good bills, and we've got a good relationship with the Senate. So I really think the next 6 weeks, are going to be very productive.
All right, let's talk. This ethics bill you guys passed. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, well, what we want to do is make sure what's always happened in the past is bills have gotten too big and people have tried to do too many things, and sometimes that's was somewhat intentional to make sure that they fail because they get too big. So we want to stay really focused on a couple of narrow things that we think need to be fixed. It's not the only thing. It's not perfect, but it's an improvement over what we had before. And those two things are, one is closing the revolving door for when a legislator or public official leaves office to turn around and become a lobbyist. Mm-hmm. So we followed, we put in place rules which are followed by the vast majority of states across the country, as well as at the federal level, and that is you have to sit out a year before you can come back as a lobbyist.
So that means you cannot lobby until 1 year after your session, right? After you're done.
Correct, and I have no desire.
Right, you're not doing it, but somebody else though, right?
But we've had a lot of complaints about that in the past, so that's something that we thought was important to close. And the second was the gift situation, and so what we did is we put a $25 cap on gifts, which once again brings Missouri into kind of the plurality and of where most states are on this sort of thing.
But you can still give unlimited political contributions to a candidate, to a politician, to an elected leader. So what does the $25 cap actually do?
Well, these are for things like tickets and meals and gifts, things of a personal nature.
Gotcha.
So campaign contributions, we have to file quarterly reports, and everyone can see who contributes to us. And closer to an election, those reporting requirements are virtually daily. So the where the money comes from is fairly transparent, and the voters can make that decision on whether or not they like that or not.
Okay, so all right, now that's the ethics. That is passed by you guys. There's a different bill in the Senate. You feel confident you can sort of work out the differences?
Yeah, I hope so. Ours is much stricter than the one the Senate passed out, but hopefully we'll be able to work that out and get that across the finish line.
The municipal courts bill, which is probably the one everyone's most interested in down there, where does that stand and how's that going?
Yeah, so we had a press conference this week, and we've been working really quietly behind the scenes with a lot of stakeholders in this process, and as we hear some of the news accounts, and I think this has been on a lot of people's radar screen long before Ferguson happened. It's just some of these municipalities that support themselves by fining people that drive through them.
Right.
And so what we've done is really looked at how that works and what can be done to fix it. And what we found was that a lot of times these municipalities will just keep piling on charge after charge after charge, where it gets to a point where people can't pay. So in St. Louis County alone, for example, there are 453,000 outstanding traffic warrants.
That's just in St. Louis County.
That's just in St. Louis County. Between St. Louis County and St. Louis City, there's nearly 800,000. So there's almost
it's
one.
It's comical
for every and what I'm told, I haven't personally seen these numbers, but from what I'm told, like in Cook County, Chicago, it's about 10% of that number. So
10%.
So what
And
happens?
Cook
a lot of
County is
time-
infinitely more people.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
infinitely more
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? And so, across the state, we have 1.2 million outstanding traffic warrants on minor traffic violations. So clearly that's out of control and something's out of whack. And what happens on it is really interesting. So let's say, McGraw, you're driving, down Highway 70, and you get a ticket
Right.
for going 10 miles per over the speed limit, and you don't show up for your court date because you can't pay the ticket. And some municipalities will make you show up.
Right.
You may have a job that night. You may have other things. Well, then when you don't show up, they issue not only a warrant on the underlying ticket, okay, but they also will then issue you a failure to appear charge, which is separate from that ticket, and double your fine.
Right.
And the next time you can't pay that, you get another failure to appear and another one. So that's a mechanism for municipalities, some municipalities, to often triple or quadruple
Right.
the fine of the original thing. But here's the kicker. When it comes time to resolve the case, they'll resolve it on the failure to appear charges,
Right.
not on the underlying traffic ticket, so it doesn't count against their cap
Right.
that they're allowed to get for traffic because that's not a moving violation.
Right.
So what we've done is say, okay, if you get a speeding ticket, you're completely accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with that. If you don't deal with it, you get a warrant issued for that traffic ticket. Okay, but the municipality is not allowed to pile on extra charges on top of that.
Right.
Okay, so we're dealing with that, and we're also requiring that if you're going to operate a municipal court, that you have to have a mechanism where people can pay their fines other than showing up in court in a night. You should be able to pay it over the internet or be able to mail it in or any of these other types of mechanisms that have been readily available and frankly are available in state courts if you get a ticket by a highway patrol or county officer.
Who will be the gatekeeper, though, who will be able to, because in the past, they've just done it without any
Right.
oversight.
So what we're requiring is that if you operate a municipal court, you have to file an annual report with the state auditor's office, and we're developing what criteria need to be on that to say, okay, how much money does your city take in, how much is from traffic revenue, okay, and so forth and so on, and then the state auditor has the ability to audit those numbers. We'll have the ability to audit those numbers and then take corrective action, whether that's filing a lawsuit, intercepting other tax money that comes to the city to ensure compliance. And we're also going to make we're trying to make municipal court judges subject to the same rules of procedure as state court judges.
Any backlash? Any pushback? How confident are you that this bill will get through?
It's a process. So far, the feedback we've had on it is very good. We've been in communication with Senator Schmidt, who is the handler of Senate Bill 5 on the Senate side. Over on our side, we had a very broad range of people supporting it at the press conference. Everyone from our libertarian side to Black Caucus members. So I think we're going to have a pretty broad range. It's not something we just came up with overnight. We've been working on this for weeks and getting input from a lot of different groups and people on what this should look like.
I've heard from people who live in Ferguson. We've talked about it. We had your old friend Tony Mester on the show the other day mention it, and that is once you curtail the moving violation situation, these towns are then going to start using your grass is too high, your roof is broken, your window is, and so they're going to then nickel and dime you to death on those and not the traffic violations.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't address the traffic violations.
No, right.
So if that starts happening, we're going to have to deal with that if and when that happens. But at least I would submit, if you're looking at your grass being too high or you have broken windows, at least the municipalities are focused on preventing blight and bad situations in their own communities versus turning a blind eye to that stuff and just trying to collect revenue.
Right, but increasing fees for making sure you're, you have 3 toilets, so that's a fee, and that's a fee because you have an extra car, or a fee because you have Christmas lights on your house or something. Yeah. Why we still have you? Governor Nixon, there's a slip for you. Governor Nixon came out and said that St. Louis County is not needed to fund a football stadium. What are your thoughts? What's going on? What's the conversation about a football stadium down in Jefferson City?
Well, it seems like every week it's a different story and a different scenario. It's really, frankly, as much as it's talked about here, it's talked about very, very little in the hallways. So It's just really not a subject of intense conversation. There's been no proposal brought to us, and there's been no indication that we are going to be required to take legislative action one way or the other at this point in time. So
you're not anticipating anything getting through, voting on anything this session?
We haven't been asked to consider any proposals. So it's really in the hallways. It's been pretty quiet. So
that's kind of newsworthy, right? I mean, I thought there was something going on down there, but you're saying there's been no
bills filed to support a stadium or for us to finance a stadium or anything of the sort. So and I think probably at some point there's going to have to be, and I think that's when the debate will occur.
Right. But are you anticipating somebody asking you something between now and the end of the session?
I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah, interesting. You just got back from a trip with Governor Nixon.
Correct.
Yeah. How'd that go? Did you guys chat on the trip?
It went well. Yeah, it was good. Got to know the governor a little bit better. But I think what's most important, to recognize that we live in a global economy.
Right.
And it kind of gets back to some of these regional issues. When companies are looking to relocate or expand, they look at some of the same issues that we talk about all the time. What is is the workforce educated? Is there a good business environment? Do we have, a business environment in terms of regulation and taxation that's conducive to attracting and starting businesses? That's what we heard virtually across the board. And so I think it also gave us some ideas on things to work on going forward and help attracting more advanced manufacturing.
That's John Deal, Speaker of the House. Nice enough to swing by. You're welcome here anytime, my friend.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Talk to you later.
7:32 here, Big 550 KTRS.